it is without a doubt one of the reasons why I've been able to accomplish so much so far in my lifetime.
That and the boundaries has served you so well in all of the things. Siblings would come in and I'd be like, yay, let's hang out with your siblings.
and
you'd
I'm
be like,
get out.
Yeah. So it's a strength, it's a superpower. There's so much to it.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that I've never really discussed before, and that is my superpower. Before you laugh, I really truly have undergone sort of a realization and sort of an epiphany about my ADHD, and it's something that I've never really talked about on my channel here because I kind of grew up, despite my parents' best efforts and intentions, believing that ADHD was a weakness, a learning disability, a learning difference, whatever you want to call it. Looking back and knowing all that I've been able to accomplish in my life, it is without a doubt one of the reasons why I've been able to accomplish so much so far in my lifetime. And I think it's really important to spread this message because a huge population of the world have ADHD, whether they know it or not. And it's not something that you should be ashamed of. It's really just a different brain, and it's something that you should really be proud of. So if you're watching this for the first time because you came across this video searching for videos about ADHD, welcome. My name is Kristina Barkley. I am a board certified anesthesiologist living in Houston, Texas. I'm the mom of 2 kids. I'm the CEO of my own brand, Cloud9 Scrubs. I make YouTube videos 4 to 5 times a week. Of course, they would start doing the landscaping right as I'm filming this intro. I sat down with licensed marriage and family therapist Tracy Lehman of Nick Finnegan Counseling Center. And spoiler alert, she also happens to be my best friend since 3rd grade. She's actually the perfect resource to discuss ADHD and how you can turn the things that were previously thought to be downsides to ADHD into upsides. You can really look at the positive side of ADHD, and when you do, you come to this realization that you have a Ferrari brain. And this you'll see what I'm talking about because Tracy made this incredible depiction of what it's like to have ADHD, and I felt so seen and so heard and so identified when she said that. It's fascinating. So I hope that you'll enjoy this really interesting and insightful discussion that I had with my childhood lifelong best friend who knows me better than probably I know myself. She is really able to isolate from a very unique perspective as my lifelong best friend the qualities of my personality, the qualities that come from my ADHD brain, the qualities that come from my upbringing and family structure, and really isolate what are the key components that have added to my success in life and what kind of makes me who I am. So my hope is that with this video, you will learn to appreciate your ADHD. And if you would like to send this video to a friend who you know has ADHD or a family member, just to give them a nice warm hug and say, you know what, I accept your Ferrari brain. You are wonderful the way you are. There's no limit to what you can achieve. So go ahead and send this video to anybody who you think deserves that message. Let's go ahead and get in this video. Welcome everyone back to my channel. I am so excited to have a special guest, aka my best friend, Tracy Lehman. I'm gonna let her introduce herself, but I wanted to start off this video by talking a little bit about the secret to my success, if you will. I get asked this question a lot, like what makes me so productive, able to have my hands in different pots. I don't even know if that's the right metaphor, but you know, I get this question a lot. I've never really been able to answer it until I started learning about my ADHD, which I've known I've had since
a long time. I remember your mom having you do the testing when we were
on the computer.
Middle school?
Yeah, it was, I think.
Elementary, middle?
No, it was late in the game for me. So I don't remember when it was, but I was diagnosed a long time ago. You know, I've always had this perception that it was a bad thing, and now I'm learning through my best friend, who's a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I will allow her to introduce herself. As you can tell, my ADHD is taking over. But it's a superpower, and there's some really positive aspects to ADHD that you may not know about, and so I thought it would be worth making a video on because just because you have ADHD doesn't mean you can't achieve great things. I'm not saying I've achieved great things, but it doesn't mean that you can't be a doctor or, you know, that you can't do
are a doctor.
things. Right. That's what I'm saying.
So you have achieved great things then.
Well, anyway, so allow me to introduce my bestie since third grade.
My name's Tracy Lehman. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm also the outreach counselor for Nick Finnegan Counseling Center. We are a nonprofit organization. Our mission is to provide affordable and accessible counseling to all, and we do that in one of three ways. We accept 5 different insurances. We have a more than reasonable out-of-pocket rate, and then we have a sliding scale that takes into account more than just what your income is, but also what that income has to go to cover.
My reason for having Tracy here is not just because she is the expert, but also because she knows me. She's seen me through everything, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, medical school. Well, you didn't really see me in medical school, but, you know.
No, very rarely.
Sort of a positive psychology approach to ADHD. And that, again, is the purpose of this video, is how ADHD can be your superpower, and personally, how that has led to whatever I've been able to achieve in my life thus far.
I also happen to be ADHD, but no one ever tested me, and I didn't know what was going on with me. I had horrible impulse control, and it wasn't until I learned about ADHD in grad school that I was like, oh,
That's what
that's what I have. That's me. And then the more I learn about it, the more that I realize how entrenched I am in ADHD. The part of our brain that's the executive function part, this frontal part here, it develops last about when we're 30, is when our brain is completely fully functioned. But it's also the slower, bigger part of the brain. It takes more time to look at all these different perspectives and viewpoints. Under stress, we tend to not function up here. We start to go down here. And when we go down here, we no longer have our executive function, our ability to plan and organize in the driver's seat. We really run on emotions, which is really important with ADHD because ADHD is very tied into the limbic system. So there's 2 lead people that you kind of go to for ADHD. And one of them is Russell Barkley, and the other one is Dr. Hallowell. Both of them, interestingly, have this strength-based approach to ADHD, looking at it as a superpower. One of the first things I learned to tell people was, or to tell kids when they were being identified for this pilot group. So when I was screening kids for this pilot group, one of the first things I learned from Dr. Hallowell is that you describe it like this. You have the most incredible brain. I'm going to talk to you like I'm talking to a kid. Your brain is so cool, and that's why you're here, because when you were built, they gave you a Ferrari engine race car brain. It is fast. It can do turns. It can do things faster than anyone else. It can move faster than you can read. It is crazy. But for some silly reason, when they built this race car brain, they gave you bicycle brakes. And when we have bicycle brakes, if you think about like going around a curve, when you really have to be able to steer, you need to be able to slow down.
Yeah.
And that would be really hard with bicycle brakes on a Ferrari engine car.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's a strength, it's a superpower. There's so much to it. It's incredible. CEOs, executives, super creative people, a lot of scientists have been diagnosed with ADHD. Yeah. And it's because they're so fast, and there's a lot of intelligence linked to ADHD because you are constantly seeking information.
Because you want stimulation, right?
Yeah.
You're operating at a higher RPM.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly.
And so you need to feed yourself with something.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah. We constantly are on the search for information. The problem is we are emotionally tied to that information. So it's things that get us excited, right? Like one of my biggest strengths at work that they'll tell me is I'm very passionate, but I have a hard time picking a direction.
Yeah.
And I love information. I gather information. Same with you. Like, you know, when I talk about the success you've had, you were like, oh, I love learning about all the new technology. And you've always been that way. Like you and my husband talk about building computers. I don't care about stuff like that.
I once was like, I'm going to wake up and build a computer today. and I did over the course of a week. I just taught myself.
Yeah. And so the information that you've built, so you're constantly seeking information, has allowed you to, the setup in here, learning these cameras, you know, while also studying medicine, learning all the different intricacies of different social media platforms, growing. Like you started as a blogger.
Yeah.
You've gone, not a lot of people can do the transition from blogger to vlogger to Twitter to TikTok to everything. It's a lot to take in, but because it interests you, it excites you, it drives you, you do it, and you do it well.
Well, I appreciate that. This wasn't meant to be a
You're so awesome.
Like I'm so awesome. but I do really identify with what Tracy's saying, because for me, especially, everything is very interest-based for me. Like a lot of people with ADHD, if you have ADHD, you might find this yourself. I really, if I'm interested in something, I might stay up all night learning about that thing. I will hyper-focus, and I will learn how to get that transition effect in Final Cut Pro, or make my own titles in Motion, or, you know, learn about, again, how these cameras work, or sound. Most recently, like my biggest hurdle was sound, and it might not even be great on this video because I don't typically do 2 audio setups, but it's just something that it's like, all right, I'm going to tackle this challenge today. But if you ask me to challenge myself to learn about my taxes, forget about it. No. I mean, I will literally put that off until the day before they're due. I mean, thankfully I have an accountant now, because one of the things I've had to do because of my interest-based focus on things, because I literally will not do something if I'm not interested, is you'll find that I delegate whatever I'm not interested in. In fact, my friend Trisha jokes that she wants to be, her title, that whenever I hire her on to Cloud9 Scrubs, she's like, my position will be whatever Kristina doesn't want to do. It's like, she's like, just tell me what you don't want to do and I'll do it. And I'm like, that's rock star right there, because that's what I need and the way my brain works.
So creativity is a huge part of ADHD because of these linkages. Procrastinating is a huge part of ADHD. Just about everyone procrastinates.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's not the best skill, but a lot of kids learn that when they get the anxiety going, that something's due, the adrenaline acts like a stimulant, right?
Yes.
That's what we prescribe people
100%.
when they're trying to manage their ADHD. And that's why procrastination, ADHD go like this, because you need that adrenaline stimulant to get going on a project that's been assigned to you. And then when that adrenaline hits, you're able to put it out there, which is why, you know, waiting till the last night at 1 a.m. to write a paper worked for me.
It's the most ironic thing sometimes, because you get anxious about it when you could just take care of it, right? You know you could take care of it anytime. But you just don't care enough to do it right then and there, right? So you give yourself, like, you know, this procrastination can sometimes go hand in hand with stress. So I find that over my lifetime, I've definitely had a very intimate relationship with stress. Just putting myself through these ordeals. And so what Tracy and I were discussing when we were prepping for this video last week was what regulatory mechanisms and what, like, kind of learned or family structure type might have contributed to that as well, and how that can benefit you. And if you don't have those things, or you weren't raised in that sort of environment, perhaps even just naming the thing that might help you, you might be able to practice it or something. You might be able to develop these skills. Because I think, like you said, it's a Ferrari engine, you're always at a high RPM. You're born with bicycle brakes, but that doesn't mean that you can't teach yourself some coping skills, or, you know, just skills in general and tools to help yourself brake. Right. So how might they do that, and what, for example, do you see in me that has led to that ability?
So much. So fun. So something you said about Trisha was really interesting, because I had just heard that on a podcast. And if this program he's developing is about having a coach. And a coach is there to help with things like boundaries, knowing where your deficits are, where your interests lack, and being there to remind you and help you navigate and direct, help you with the planning organizational pieces. We talked about boundaries when I got here, right? Yeah. Because Kristina's excellent boundaries. I have horrible boundaries, and my boundaries pretty closely could be textbook of ADHD. But in Kristina's household, there were 5 children and 2 working parents. That means you need boundaries. Yes. And she was a firstborn type A. She was used to having her own space for a little bit before Michelle came along. Right. You know, and so. Rude. No, but I remember that. I remember, like, your siblings would come in and I'd be like, yay, let's hang out with your siblings.
And
you'd
like,
be like,
get out. It's true.
You guys had chores, you had responsibilities, you had consequences that were effective. That's another thing with ADHD.
Yep.
It's hard because of that emotional link. It's really, really hard to find consequences that are really effective and motivating.
And I can't even pinpoint what my parents' parenting style was that was a result of that, other than my dad was, you know, like, I don't know what the word would be, an authoritarian type of parent? Authoritative.
Your dad
What's the good
could be
one?
scary without being loud and mean and big.
Yeah.
That's how I would describe your dad.
Yeah.
I remember
Stern.
I remember we went home to your house one day when we were in elementary school, because you lived right by the elementary school. We went and sat on the counter and made coffee.
Yeah, we made coffee.
And we were in elementary school. I don't know how old we were.
Okay, we really should not have been doing that.
And your dad was so mad. And but he doesn't
like,
yell.
But he was like, "You're gonna stunt your growth," you know.
Like, but it's like the way he talks has so much authority to it.
Yeah.
You know? So that's what I say about Russell Barkley and Dr. Hallowell. They both are strength-based, right? ADHD brains do better with rewards. They do better with what stimulates that dopamine center in the brain than they do with what doesn't feel good. We avoid what doesn't feel good.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So for
because
you,
we're so tied into the limbic system.
Yeah. So for you, it was being successful and feeling, I don't know what it was. You'd have to tell me what it was. But for me, it was like, you are the oldest, you are the leader, and leading the pack for your family and like doing things the right way, like being a good role model that your parents would reinforce that they would notice when you were
like
doing
the
things
golden
well.
child. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was very different. You had chores, you woke up in the morning, you had breakfast, you were very routine. And when we have routines, so what happens is you build neural pathways, right? And the more you do something, that neural pathway gets reinforced until it's like if you're driving somewhere you drive every day, you don't even have to pay attention. And you won't even know that you got there.
You're like, how'd I get here?
You're like, I'm here.
We've all done that at least once, right?
Yeah, right? And that's because that neural pathway is so strong. So if you have a routine, your resources aren't as required for those routines, for those habits,
so
for that structure.
You can offload your neural circuits
so you have
to
more
something
room.
else.
Yeah, so you have more room for all the stuff going on in your head. It really helps balance you out. And I think that and the boundaries has served you so well in all of the things. Because for me, I had no boundaries. And I'd be like, oh, but I don't want to be left out. I need to be part of this. I need to be part of that, right? And I volunteer for everything, whereas you'd be like, oh, I don't care.
Yeah, like if that doesn't interest me, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, but also like if you guys had a very strong value on family and family together time, that was huge for you.
Yeah,
and it's followed you. It's supported your functioning.
Yeah, it has. I think definitely that's definitely been a key. My mom modeled a lot of really nice, like routine-based behaviors too. Like she was always list making. She had a index card. I mean, she would buy them by the pack, and she would write on the back of them, you know, and it would be like vertical format, and it was like clipped nails, you know, bathe self. Yeah. Like she would write these things down to remind herself what she needed to do that day. And that I think is carried over to me with planners and organizing, and the bullet journal system has been very helpful for me since I started that. I think it's really nice because I tend to get sick of things. You know, the bullet journal system has been very helpful. So that, the bullet journal system, the boundaries, I think, routines.
Yeah, your mom also, because your mom was a doctor, she also is big into research, and something that has been shown to be really effective, if you look at the research, is omega-3s. And I remember your mom reading that when it first came out. It probably was a baby
Nordic
research
Naturals.
study. And I remember she had her cups of omega-3s for everyone in the family. Lined up, you know.
We were guinea pigs, like, lining up. I don't know if you know this. But there was definitely some guinea pig moments.
I mean, structure in general, routines, anything that helps you not need to spend resources on the details. So that's why planners are helpful. That's why routines are helpful. Morning routines, evening routines. I mean, I have parents make chore charts, bathroom charts. I believe in chores. I think that's another thing we haven't talked about.
We did chores.
You had a lot of responsibility on you.
We did.
I mean, your dad was like, your mom too, but I remember this more for your dad. Or at least the financial part, because I didn't have the same structure. Again, was like, you need to be responsible and you need to learn to be an adult.
Yeah.
Okay, so growth versus fixed mindset. Yeah. So fixed mindset comes from a lot of negative talk. You are the way you are, or even that you're a natural at something. Because if you're a natural at something, it just is what it is and you have no control over it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so a lot of people who were just told they were naturals and never told they had to work at anything, as soon as and this comes with ADHD, frustration tolerance. When things get
Yes.
hard,
Yes.
if you are not interested in it and it gets hard, we tend to give up. I remember your mom talking about the way she talked about all of you guys was always very positive. Like,
Yeah.
this person's really good at this and works really hard at this, and this is what they do.
I mean, she literally wrote the book. I mean,
did
I
write a
can put
parenting
on the
book.
screen the 3 parenting books that she's made, and one of them is specifically one that did really, really well too, was Hearing is Believing, which is just the way you speak and how it affects your children.
Yeah.
So really what we're battling is our own low frustration tolerance.
Yeah.
And
Giving up on ourselves.
yeah, and our passion-based, interest-based motivation. And so one of the things I like to also talk about and wanted to mention too is that sometimes we just have to do unsavory tasks, right? Sometimes there are things we don't want to do, but we got to do it. And for me, what has worked, but may not work for everybody, is the Pomodoro method, where you get a little timer, just put a timer on your phone. You can get a physical timer so that it doesn't distract you, because sometimes putting a timer on your phone means you're going to get distracted on your phone.
But they also have excellent apps for it too.
Yeah, I have the Pomodoro app, and I think that's really helpful too. But then you start getting notifications on your phone, and you're ding, ding, you're like, okay.
Turning off
Silent.
notifications, important for an ADHD brain.
Yes.
Side tip.
And actually, I do that too. I limit so many of my phone's notifications, not enough sometimes, but I've limited quite a bit. And also the distracting red like badges on the app icons. But the Pomodoro method is nice because it basically gives you, okay, like it's like 5 minutes, right? You can do anything for 5 minutes that's unsavory. Like just grin and bear it. Okay, like you need to tidy up. Set the timer. You're like 5 minutes goes by really fast, and all of a sudden you're like, but I didn't finish, you know? And so you can actually add more time and see what your tolerance level and build your tolerance level for those unsavory tasks, right? And you said something interesting when we were speaking last week, which
About
was
the 45 minutes.
The 45 minutes. Tell us about that.
So a non-ADHD brain's attention span in an adult brain is 45 minutes.
Fully developed, 45 minutes.
Yes, 45 minutes on a single task is what we have found. And if you look at the world we're living in today, so this is something that Kristina also wanted me to address, and it's really hard to address because older people, how do I know if I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but I relate to this? It's really, really hard to know if you have ADHD or not, because if you look at the way our system is built, it reinforces our limbic system. It reinforces our ADHD brain because that sales works off our limbic system too. It's more impulsive, right? If we can think through a decision, we can really weigh out the pros and cons, and that doesn't get us into a sale. Streaming through multiple different stimuli literally makes it feel like an ADHD brain.
Yeah.
And affects, research-wise, our attention span.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've definitely seen
So
studies pop up that show that our attention spans are decreasing
yeah,
over time.
actually, they say that people who spend an average, just an average amount of time on social media, on screens, their attention span has gone down to where their brain will interrupt itself every 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
It's funny because I actually think that that anesthesia really worked for me on a personal note because there's a lot of tech involved. I was very interested in how the machines work. I am interested in how the pharmacology works. I still to this day will put someone to sleep and be like, I'll look around the room and be like, isn't this just the coolest thing ever?
And that's the passion.
And
That's
that's the
important.
passion, because it's just like, I can't believe I just did this to someone. Like, it's just amazing. You know, I think it's crazy that I have the ability, or we, you know, as a modern society have the ability to put someone unconscious and have them have surgery and not feel it and wake up and work out. It's just nuts to me. But anyway, so that plus being able to, like, I'm so used to focusing on 100 different things at once
Which
that
is ADHD.
yeah, which I can focus on. And so I'll literally be talking to the surgeon and I'll hear the monitor, like the slightest, most subtle change in tone. Like we're not even talking like a full note, like on a piano scale. Like it'll be like boop, boop, like that. And I'll be like, hold on 1 second. And then I'll be like, okay, there's something going on here. Like, I'll be like talking and I notice it. So it's just I can focus on a lot of different things at once. And that actually I think is a superpower. And ADHD, very prevalent in amongst anesthesiologists and medicine in general, surprisingly, but it tends to attract all of the ADHD people because we are like that in this specialty, in this field. So you might find it surprising. I think it would be really cool to have you come back and we talk about like the most prevalent disciplines or jobs that tend to attract ADHD minds. I think that would be a really cool
But it's
topic.
usually jobs that have to manage a lot of different tasks at once, right? Like if you think of an executive impulse control and your brain firing all over the place, it's really good. Like if people are coming to you to make decisions.
The Ferrari.
Right?
Boom, boom,
people
boom,
come to
boom,
you to
boom,
make
boom.
decisions
Yeah,
and they're like,
no
here,
problem.
oh, this is interesting. Okay, this is what you should hear. This one, right? That's perfect. And that's funny what you said about that pinging thing, because that's how I feel too about why I'm a family therapist. I can read body language and I pull in body language
like,
from
bing,
both people, right? I'm pinged on both sides.
Yeah.
Or all sides. So sometimes it's not just a couple, sometimes it's a family. But you know, that is something I consider a superpower, my ability to pick up on nonverbal cues, because 80% of our communication is nonverbal cues, which is also an issue for ADHD because we don't learn unless we're really interested in people. We don't learn to pick up on social cues. It's not important to us, and we're moving too fast.
And you and I are both interested in people. So I think that that's helped us, but for say you're not, you might,
Have some social deficits, which leads to some social anxiety.
Absolutely, and there's definitely a lot of social deficits in medicine, at least I'm going to link a couple of really great resources down in the description box, as well as some very up-to-date literature that I'm now tasking Tracy to remind me.
That's okay, I've got it. It's already ready.
Actually, she's been texting me some really cool stuff in the past week that I really enjoyed reading too. So I think that it's really a superpower, and I think that you shouldn't be concerned or ashamed if you or your child or your spouse or any of your loved ones have it, because it can really be a wonderful thing. We just have to know how to regulate it and how to create a nice, safe framework of boundaries and routines to really help you shine.
Yeah, and that's one of the battles you face with ADHD is it's really about getting to know yourself.
Well, thank you, Tracy, so much for coming on my channel.
Yay, it was fun. This was fun.
This was so fun to have you, and hopefully more. And leave your questions for Tracy down in the comments below, because I'm sure she would love to help answer some of the questions. You can check her and many of the other wonderful people out at Nick Finnegan Counseling Centers. Well, guys, I hope that if this video helps at least one person feel identified or feel validated in how their brain works and what makes them tick, and that ADHD is not a deficit, then I think that this video is worth it. And I hope that my vulnerability in showing you one of the sides to me that I've never shared before has done that for you. So I appreciate you spending the time to watch this video. If you wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing if you're new here, and share this channel with a friend, or especially share this video with a friend who you think needs to hear this message. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.